up, everyone? Welcome back to another session of Coffee and Martial Arts. Salud, salud, salud. Cheers. Oh, yes. Yes, sir. Coffee, it's great this morning. Okay. I'm trying to share things here on social media. But good morning, everybody. Okay. So today we have a great show. Yes, sir. Every time we have our collaborator, Guro Kathrin Sumpter here on the podcast, it makes my day. It's usually a great show. We get to have amazing conversation. That's why the title of today, Conversations with the Guro. Yes, she brings an amazing and a very interesting perspective into the podcast and into the martial arts. A lot of years and a lot of study and training into her journey in the arts brings all of this amazing points of views. And she also, I like it because she pays attention. Yeah, so we should learn about that. Guys, pay attention. Okay, listen to what the guests here are saying. You know, I can tell you by my experience, I have learned so much with all these amazing martial artists coming into the show, sharing their histories, their stories, their backgrounds, their wisdom, their experience, all the stuff they shared. I always get a lot of stuff from every guest, you know, and it's really making a difference in the way I think, in the way I train, in the way I perceive the arts, and even life itself. So before we go there today, let's just say that we are going live through our Facebook page, Magic Dragon. Yes, sir. So please like the page and subscribe, and also like and share this video. That really helps us a lot. Every click you give to the page helps. It makes a difference. Okay. So please, if you're watching and you haven't liked the page, do so, and please share the video. Everything helps for us to keep on going with this. Okay. We're also going live through the International Hall of Fame of Argentina. Yes, sir. Okay. They make a magazine. They print it on paper and also digital. It comes out every month. The Revista Internacional of Argentina, the Hall of Fame of Argentina, where we usually have, we've been having some articles there, as well as my good friend and also collaborator, Axel Cardona Sensei. Okay. Also, I got to say that we are going live through our YouTube channel, the Kinetic Dragon channel. Yes, sir. Kinetic channel. Please subscribe and click on the bell so you get notified every time we go on live or we upload a video. Okay. That also helps. Okay. Also, I got to make some announcements. Tomorrow in Café y Artes Marciales in Español, we're going to have a great guest, Master Roberto Almagro from Quito, Ecuador, okay? From the Almagro Kempo Karate Association, also a representative of the Larry Tatum's Kempo Karate Association International, okay? Good. Also on Thursday, we have another great collaborator. Now it's Grandmaster Joe Rebello. It's going to be back on Thursday doing a tribute to the legendary Grandmaster David German. Okay, Master German was an amazing Kempoka, an amazing Kempo man. He had his own system, Thai system, transitional action integrated. I met the man once briefly, and I saw him move, and it was wow. So Joe Rebello is going to share a lot about it. Okay, so don't miss it. Okay, it's going to be good. And also on Saturday, we're going to have our open mat talk, okay? And it looks like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but let's see. Okay, first, on Saturday at 11, our usual schedule, we're going to have Maestro, Senior Professor Roberto Vidal from Chile, okay? We're going to talk about Kempo and self-defense. It's going to be in Espanol. But also, I think we're going to have a special edition, a surprise for you guys. Let me make sure. Okay. Rápido, because I got Guro waiting. Hold on a second. Guro will be right there. Okay, let's see. Okay, so yes, so it's a go on Saturday at 1 o'clock Pacific daytime. Okay, we're gonna have a special edition. So we're gonna go a double broadcast on Saturday at 11 in Espanol, Master Roberto Vidal, and at 1 p.m. Okay, this is getting a little bit more than I expected. Come on, it doesn't want to come up. Okay, so at 1 p.m. we're gonna have a special guest, but I'm gonna say that at the end of. Oh, here we go. Okay. Ta-ta! Yes, sir. We're going to be talking with Hiron Gracie. Yes, Master Hiron Gracie is going to be on the show from the Gracie University. He's going to be talking about the 32 principles of Jiu-Jitsu. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be at 1 o'clock, so we're going to have a double podcast on Saturday. So if it wasn't enough me doing the podcast every freaking day, now we're going to do it twice on Saturday. So, okay. So, let's bring in the woman of the hour, Guro, Kathrin Sumpter.
Good morning, Master Frank. Hello. Nice to see you. I've got my coffee.
Great. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, so how you doing? Good morning.
Oh, very good. Very good. You know, before we started, I can't help but point out my Hattori Hanzo t-shirt. This is for a shout out to Sensei Axel, because he's been covering the messages in the martial arts movies, and he did the Karate Kid, of course. Where are you going to start but the Karate Kid? But I'm hoping he'll go ahead and maybe at some point do one of the Kill Bill movies, because those happen to be my personal favorites. And there might be some messages in there. I'm just dying to hear his interpretation. That's all.
Okay. We note taken, so we'll pass the message to him. Maybe we can do something this Friday. Okay, we have some people saying hello. International Hall of Fame, salud maestros, from the Chinese Cultural House of Santa Fe, Argentina. Hug from the heart, Sifu Ernesto Colbrenner. Saludos, Sifu. I'm sorry, I'm sharing this. Okay. Come on.
Keeps it organic.
Yeah, I want to share this with okay, here we go. Okay, so Osomora, saludos, hello, salud. Here we go, the Altitude Squirrel.
Altitude Squirrel.
Yeah, great show. Much respect, Master Frank, and Guro Sumpter from Sean in Sequim, Washington. Hello, Sean.
Oh, boy. He just had a fantastic promotional exam. Shout out to Sean. Wow. Fantastic stick fighter.
Nice. Congratulations. Michael Lee Martin says, cheers, good Mexican coffee. Amazing Mexican coffee, yes, from Chiapas. Ooh. I just got this yesterday, actually, or 2 days ago. It's good coffee. Yes, thank you. Coda Robinson, watching from Washington. Great show. Thank you. Okay, so we are ready for you today, Guro.
Well, you had said in my introduction that I pay attention, and I do, because I'm learning so much. And, I run my school, but I can always do better anyway. But you've had some fantastic guests, You had Nathaniel Ortega, and what a story that guy had. Oh, boy, did he have a story. I just recall that he was talking about he didn't really have a choice to be in the arts or not. He was very forthright that, his father made him do it, and he was born into the dojo. But some of the things that he talked about, that if he forgot his white belt, they would take it away from him, and he had to start over. And he had to earn his white belt all over again. I'd never heard anything like that in my life. He said something about being a white belt for like 12 or 13 years. But he got to the intermediate ranks, and I think that's a common thread. And you and I have sort of talked about it before, that when you get to those intermediate ranks, you start feeling your skills and you start getting pretty good. and you almost want something to happen so you can try something out, right? But he
Right.
talked about that when he got to about green belt, he started getting into a lot of fights. But even when he got tagged, it didn't hurt because he had been in this dojo for so long where he was getting the tar beaten out of him. So when it came to that application on the street or at the school, it didn't hurt, you know. But it was a very interesting story. I really liked hearing from him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, I have some friends that have been born, so to speak, in the martial arts, like Grandmaster Nathaniel Ortega, and they always have like a unique perspective of what's going on. For example, I can mention Master Edmund Parker Jr., which I would hope to have him on the show, you know, probably next month. But he was, you know, the son of the late Senior Grandmaster Ed Parker, so it's like he was born in Kempo. Also, another good friend of mine, Senior Master Rudy Toilosenga, the son of the late Grandmaster Tino Toilosenga, founder of Lima Lama. And they have this unique experience, you know, and there's so many things that in common that happens when they have, and I get, it's the same thing with Grandmaster Nathaniel and the relationship with his father and all that, and the students and the other people. And I guess when you are the son of, people expect more from you, right? Like
And you're not going to be able to ride those coattails. I mean, obviously he has made it his own, and he's completely successful in his own right. You know, yeah. You're not going to rest on somebody's coattails. You know, not in martial arts, you won't. Right.
That's right.
But then you also had Hanshi Bruce on. Now that guy was really interesting. I really enjoyed listening to his interview too. But I had to rewind it. Luckily I'm catching some of these. I haven't been able to watch much live over the last couple of weeks, but luckily I'm so happy that you have these on YouTube. But I had to rewind it because did he really say that he knows 280 katas? I couldn't believe my ears. It's like, did I hear that right? So that was interesting. But he talked about how, from his viewpoint, that masters should know something about the healing arts. And I really perked up when I heard that. I thought that was really interesting.
Right.
That they should know something about the healing nature of martial arts. And I couldn't agree more. And he had indicated that, you know, he's forever a student. And once you don't have that mindset anymore, you're in trouble, you know. So that was interesting. I really enjoyed listening to him.
Yeah, agree. And there's actually, you know, there's a funny story. I met Hanshi, I think it was 2012, 13. But I called him first, and I went to the gathering. They do a gathering every year. Actually, this year is going to be the beginning of October in Reno, Nevada.
Reno,
So,
yeah.
And it's always good. It's a good group. It's a lot of amazing martial artists, and I've been there like 4 or 5 times, like 5 times. And and anyway, the first time I went there, I bought his program on video, right, to learn the Kosho Ryu curriculum. So me and my big mouth, because, well, why not? I have a big mouth, right? I go to him and I said, "Sir, I can't wait to have the DVDs, right? I haven't seen the material, right? But I assume it's going to be what, 10, 20 DVDs for the curriculum, which is usually, it's like that." And I said, "Next time I see you, sir, I'm going to know everything, and, you know, blah, 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 and you'll see, blah, blah, blah." And he looked at me and smiled, right? He didn't say a thing. He just smiled, right? And I'm like, "Hey, you don't believe me?" I'm thinking in my head, right? "You'll see," right? I'm thinking, because I'm a very competitive guy. I got to say that. So he said, "Okay, Frank, come here." And he goes down under the table and gets a big freaking, like, portfolio, huge portfolio with 150 DVDs.
That's
your curriculum. And he put in a bigger smile. And I'm like, okay. So I already made the statement. So I had to learn the whole thing.
Kind of serves you right a little bit, right?
So actually, I went through the whole thing like 3 or 4 times, and I think I learned most of it. But because I saw him again, because he came to Mexico, I think it was, I saw him like in like 6, 7 months. He came here and gave a seminar back in 2014, I believe. Wow. But anyway, there's I'm saying this because yes, there were so many katas in those DVDs. So yeah, I believe he did know the 280 katas for sure, because wow. He does have this. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I was happy because I love that, but it's so much information. It's unbelievable. That's what I'm trying to say, in a good way, right?
Well, he didn't forget your comment, I'm sure.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Wow.
Like I said, me and my big
You also had Master Roy McDonald on. Now that was really interesting because, he talked about living in Larry Tatum's studio in exchange for lessons. And that sounded familiar to me. That story sounded a little familiar to me.
That was actually the Ed Parker studio in Santa Monica, which Mr. Tatum used to run back in the late 70s and early 80s. Yeah. And actually, I didn't know the story.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, somebody else kind of did something similar. Somebody else I know did something kind of similar, right?
Also, the other one who did that, besides myself, yes, I did that in the 90s. But Brian Cooper also lived at the Santa Monica studio in the late, I think it was 86, 87, around that mid 80s. He also went from England and lived there for a while as well. So I like that. It's kind of like a tradition now in the Kempo community, where you stay at the studio and you sleep on the mats and stuff like that. So you have your sleeping bag. And Mr. Tatum has been, I guess, the one promoting that, because he let us crush. And it was not just me at Larry's studio. It was also my good friend, Jeffrey Koloski. Salute to him. And we stayed there for several months. And we were not supposed to sleep in the studio because it was not allowed by the landlord, because it was a commercial place, right? So we had to sleep behind the office, what you couldn't see through the windows going at night. And Mr. Tatum would say, just sleep around the corner right over there where they don't see you. So yeah, I like that type of it's like fraternal type of thing with the Kempo. And I will always be grateful to Mr. Tatum for what he did. And he's actually going to be on the podcast next week, so
I'll tune into that one. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So
that was really interesting. You know what I noticed though, between Mr. Ortega and Hanshi Bruce and also Master Roy, there was a common thread, and they all sort of said the same thing independently. They all talked about one of the reasons why they went into Kempo, or one of the reasons they stay in it, because it works. And that was a common thread. The other thing that I heard them say throughout the interview was to look to the masters, look to the history of the art. And I thought that was really interesting, because they didn't collaborate to say those things. It all came out independently. But I thought that was really interesting that they all said, this works. That's why they stay with it. And anyway, I just thought that was really cool. They all had that same message independently,
I got to say, I have had, with that comment, I have had a love and hate relationship with the art, and I guess it has to do with the burnout syndrome and all that stuff we talked about before. And in my darkest moments, when I've tried to leave Kempo, because I'm not going to do Kempo anymore, right, in my head, right? But every time I look at other arts, I never find what I have found in Kempo. And of course, that's just me, right? But I can't, right? I try to go to other arts. I try to go to, you know, Krav Maga, Filipino arts, and other arts. And I mean, I love learning other arts, but I cannot drop the Kempo platform. And I think one of the things is it's so well structured that it allows you to add from other arts. And I think that's why we all say that whatever it works, you know, and that's why I think that's part of the deal. I'm not sure, but I couldn't talk about them, but that's my experience.
I have to ask you what you just said, and you've tried to leave your art.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, many times. Yeah, I was pissed. Yeah.
What is that? What I gotta ask. You can't just say something like that and expect me not to ask you what that means.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You can ask. And I actually said it on a video that we did last night. It's going to be out on YouTube. I was pissed at the politics for some time. Yeah. Okay. When you're trying to do something different, when you're trying to do, you know, something honest with yourself and share it with the community, sometimes you don't get that positive feedback that you think you're going to get, right? So it's all about expectations, basically, right? Especially when you're younger and you're thinking that you have found, you know, that we call it the black straw here in Mexico. You have found that, you know, the meaning, the secret or whatever, and you want to share it with everybody, and everybody starts trashing you or dismissing you and stuff. You get pissed, basically. You get upset, right? And sometimes you don't present it the right way, but you can't tell because sometimes you're so, I'm going to say, talk about myself. Sometimes I get so passionate. I used to when I was younger, and I thought people were going to, you know, react better. And I started getting all this heat. And eventually I said, screw you, right? And it actually, you can see it in some of the videos I did, you know, 5-6 years ago, that attitude, because I was upset. I was pissed. And all. The other thing that got me upset was the politics, basically. But it has to do with not being mature, you know. And now I see it and I laugh and I said, okay, it had to be that way. And now I'm actually, you know, really happy to be in the arts. And I'm very honored to be able to interview all these people. But the one that has changed is not the art, it's me. Right?
Oh, fair enough. Yes.
So, yes. So it's just part of life, basically, what happened with me. And I was upset with Kempo for a while. You know, it's funny because when you feel like a victim, when you're in that victim mode, everything bothers you. You know, it does. And I was upset because Kempo was not the popular art it used to be. And there were other arts that were more popular. And I'm like, damn it. Now I cannot go to other arts because I don't like, and I'm not a passionate about those arts. I'm passionate about this art, and this art is not as popular. And then we're fighting each other. That was the way I used to think, right? And we're not helping each other, blah, blah, blah. So for a moment, it was frustration, basically. That's what it was. I was frustrated.
You know, I caught some of your interview with Sasha Williams the other day, where you're working double duty, doing the English and the Spanish translations very, very well. But he had talked a little bit about the infighting between the black belts. And I must say, it was almost a relief to hear him acknowledge that. And also Master Damien, when you had him on your show, he also talked about that, and that it does in fact happen, that there isn't this constant cohesion, that there is politics in the infighting. And it really is helpful to talk about it. I mean, it's like, right. It's the truth of the matter. And so it needs to be recognized and talked about, you know.
I think Master Williams said it the best. And that actually helped me. And I learned a lot from that interview that day from the man. And it's what he said. We were all brothers, right? fighting for the legacy, right? It's like when brothers are fighting for, you know, the inheriting, you know, the material stuff like money or the properties or what. And he said, well, we were fighting for the knowledge, right? And but he said it the right way. It was family, right? And those things happen in a family. And I think he said it in a very nice and acknowledging everybody that everybody had the right to be in that, even though they were not doing it, you know, probably the nicest way, but it was understandable.
Maybe the intentions were pure.
Right, exactly, and I like that. Here we have a comment. Michael Lee Martin, hello, sir. He's saying that's me as well, Master Soto. See, there you go. That's more common. I hear you, man. And he says, yeah, the politics. I hate this. I have this love-hate experience too. See, it's a love and hate type of relationship that you get to have. So no matter what art I have started, I always come back to Kempo. There you go. That's the thing with the Kempo guy.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, sir. Here we go. Honest discussion here. I'm loving it. Thanks to both of you. Yes, and I gotta say, I'm not complaining, right? And we're not trying to talk badly about anybody, but this is just life, right? And I guess some people, we get our art or passion, and we make it so personal. That's what happens, right?
Well, and we've talked about it too before, that martial artists aren't exactly team players. You know, we're lone wolves, right? I mean, right. I mean, there's a reason we didn't choose a team sport, right? Our path is solo. We meet many on our way, but we're artists and we're temperamental, and we suffer for our art, don't we?
And that's the thing with, you know, you get to hear a lot from martial artists, the way of the warrior, right? Or the path of the warrior, right? Or the journey of the warrior. So what does a warrior do? And that's the thing. A warrior will always look for war. And that was a problem, for example, back in the Meiji era in Japan, when they abolished the samurai class, right? So the warrior path ended. And what happened to all these warriors? Well, they got frustrated, right? Because there was no war anymore, so there's no use for them, right? So they felt lost in so many different things. You know, Sensei Axel has mentioned that, and it's quite interesting. And that's one of the things that happened with me when I was younger. I was in that path of the warrior. I'm not in that path anymore. I don't see myself as a warrior anymore. I am not a warrior. I'm a protector now. And that's the big difference. Wow. And that's what changes. And that's what I teach. I teach you, don't get in the path of the warrior, because you will end up in war. And at the beginning it's okay, because you need to learn how to fight, you know, fight for what you want, fight for your dreams, fight for your rights, whatever, right? But eventually, once you have built something for yourself and for your family and for your community, you need to protect it now. And the way of the protector, you're not picking up fights, because if you pick up fights, you're putting yourself and your group in a vulnerable spot. You're not protecting them, right? So that's what I believe in now, in the path or the way of the protector, not the way of the warrior, not anymore. Though I gotta say, the way of the warrior, it's also a way to protect. That's how it started. People will go to war to protect their countries, to protect their clans, to protect their communities, to protect their families, right? To protect their ideals. Still happens up until today. So the way I see it, we're all protectors. So you have the old way, which is the way of the warrior, or the jutsu, right? And you have the new way, which is the way of the peacemaker or the peacekeeper, which is the do.
Yes.
Okay? It resonates more, right? So we gotta go into the do. We need, unless you are a soldier, right? You're a warrior by profession. That's a different story, because then you're you are going to go to war, or you're preparing for that. But if you're just a civilian, you need to get into into that way of keeping the peace, not going to war. So it's the two sides of the coin, right? And that's what I was trying to address when I was talking to Mr. Cooper. That's why I like Bry Cooper on the show. That's
You're
why
reading
I like
my mind. You're reading my mind. What a perfect segue. That was a fantastic interview. I actually watched parts of it over again because I just had to make sure that I was hearing what I was hearing. It was so good. But you both did talk about that. You talked, I think, and if I remember the language, I hope I don't butcher it, but it was something like using the least amount of force to level the most damage, or using the least amount of force to level the least amount of damage. But anyway, you're right. It was the same coin, two sides of that same coin.
And yes, so Mr. Cooper has a combative approach. That's why we always he talks about street combatives, right?
Right.
Which in certain scenarios, you got to have that skill. I'm not against it, right? I'm not. Just that combative mindset comes from the warrior, okay? Now, when I teach, it's more a use of force, control force or protective force, okay? So that comes from a protector mindset, from law enforcers, from police officers, right?
Right.
So it's a different mindset and it's a different scenario. So what I teach is to use the least amount of force to create the minimum damage possible. And what he was talking about is how to be able to unleash the most amount of aggression and force to generate the most damage faster. That's the combative mindset.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it, and I'm not judging it. And that's why I like Mr. Cooper on the show, because we have those two perspectives and people will benefit from that conversation. It's not that I don't like his approach at all. I think it's valid. You know, it's actually valid in certain scenarios. Where and I guess you got to explore both of them. But if you just train to generate the most amount of damage in the least amount of time, that's what you're going to do, because you're going to solve the problem the way you train. That's a must. We understand that. The way you train, that's the way you're going to defend yourself, right?
Well, and that came up in your interview with him too. It was the Navy SEAL creed. I wrote it down. You don't rise to the level of your expectations. You sink to the lowest level of your training, something like that.
You sink to the level of your training, right? And then they say, and that's why we train so hard. Mm-hmm. That's part of their motto. Mm-hmm. So that's why you train so hard, right? And you're in special forces, you need to train to that level, right? So because that's when I talk about the martial artist fantasy. Those are expectations. You're not going to rise to the level of your expectations. You're going to fall into the level of your training. So instead of fantasizing about it, train your butt off. That's what it means. There's nothing wrong with the fantasy. There's nothing wrong with expectations, but you're not going to rise to them. And that's also going to, leave you vulnerable. But if you train hard, you will. And that's one of the things I like about Mr. Cooper. He is highly trained, so he knows what he's talking about. But his approach, it's more the military approach, and it has to do with the instructors he have had and the experiences in life he has had, right? So, like I said, it's very valid, and I really, really like his approach because he's very honest, and he's honest with everybody else, but he's also honest with himself. And that's what we need, honesty with ourselves.
Well, he did talk when you said something about his military approach. You almost can't get away from it. And, you two were very careful not to get too political. But there was a discussion about the reality of violence increasing in the United States, and then you touched on, what's happening in your city.
Right. Michael Lee Martin says, well said, Sumpter Sensei.
Thank you.
Maestro Juan Martín Álvarez, salud from Argentina. Big hug. Saludos, maestros. Gracias por permitirnos compartir desde su página. Saludos a toda la gente de Argentina. So, well, yeah. Violence now, it's everywhere, and it's on the rise worldwide, and that's a problem. That's why we are addressing this, right? Now, when we talk about martial arts, it's martial. We're talking about, war. Mars, the god of war, martial, war-oriented. So this war-oriented arts or war arts, that's what martial arts is. And actually, when I teach now, I don't consider martial arts.
What do you?
I haven't found a word for it. I think more of it as the protector art, like personal protection arts.
Very good.
Yes. So it is martial art by definition, but it's not, because I'm not looking for war. And it has to do with our environment here in countries like Mexico and all the Latin countries. And I guess it's worldwide now. When you are surrounded with people with the capability of generating this massive amount of violence with, big guns and stuff like that, what are you going to do? Are you going to five swords them? Right? What are you going to do? You need to be nice. You need to be respectful. Because if you don't show respect, you're gone, right? So you don't mess with them. You're respectful. You understand that they're a part of society, whether you like it or not, whether you agree upon it or not. And you're nice, right? And you're not going to say, oh, yeah. And I don't care how much violence you can generate in a small amount of time. It's not going to be enough. So that's why you need to think more in protector terms. And I think I have brought up the example of the Swiss, what is it? Switzerland country.
Oh, well, they have a very low crime rate.
But do you know why?
Well, I know something about Switzerland. I know that all of their citizens are required to serve in the military and keep their firearms skills up every couple of years. They have to go for a couple of days and prove their keep their firearms skills up.
And they have to keep their weapons at home as well.
Sounds pretty good to me. But not that I want anybody telling me what to do,
but see, there's more to it, right? So you have this country who is right in the middle, like a corridor, in the middle of two mountain lines.
Ranges,
right?
yeah.
Yes. So you have the Alps on one side, and then there's the other one on the other side, which is not as big, but it's big enough. So you only have this corridor. You can go either from one side or the other. So you have the highway coming from one side and the other side, okay? And from what I've read, I mean, I don't know, but I've read those highways are like booby trap, right? So if somebody tries to invade them, they will just, push the button and boom, explode the highways. So nobody can jump in, right? And it's hard to go across the mountains. Now, they're right in the middle of Europe, right next to Germany and to France, right? And they were right in the middle of World War I and II, and they never went to war, right? So it's not just that. Also, they have bunkers, and they can put in I think it's, I don't remember if they have the capacity for 120% of their population or 130%. So that means that they can put in bunkers their whole population, which I think it's like 13 million inhabitants there. They can put in the whole population, and they can add up like 3 millions more into their bunkers and stay there for 6 months.
It's the ultimate in preparedness.
So, but see, they're thinking as protectors, right? They're not getting ready to go to war. They're getting to protect their people.
That's true.
Right? And they all carry guns, and they all have this enforcer attitude. There are some bloggers or YouTubers. There are some YouTubers that have some videos, and they tell you that one of the things that I saw there is when you go to like one of those how do you call it, scenery places on top of the mountain, right? You have like scenery spots where you can see.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. And they say families go there and they don't have fences around them, right? You go to the edge, and if you step, you're gonna fall and bye-bye, right? And said they don't have fences because they expect for people to take care of their kids, right? And nobody falls because all the parents are so protective of their children, they don't let them go there to the edge. So they don't need the fences. And also says that if you're doing some type of mess in your neighborhood, everybody's going to step out of the house and go to you and say, hey, what is going on? And if you're doing something wrong, they will arrest you and then get you to the police.
But they're not looking to the government to take care of them.
Exactly.
How do we not get political? You know, they're not looking to the Fed because that's a losing proposition, right?
So for me, that's the ultimate country or the ultimate attitude for this protector mindset that we have right now. Okay, maybe eventually we're gonna evolve more, but right now that's the greatest example of this protective awareness or consciousness.
That's a fantastic example.
Because then we hear other countries that says, oh, we are protecting our way, so we're going to go to war to the other side of the world. Mm-hmm. And that's there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not judging it, but that's the warrior mindset, right? I see a threat and I go and pick up a fight with you to protect this here. That's the warrior mindset. They're also protecting, but it's different. That's the ancient approach.
Well, the narrative is to keep the trouble away from our own borders or a country's own borders.
And that's okay.
Go to where the trouble is, right?
Yeah, but still,
I'm just saying what I hear the narrative to be, and that's the excuse or the narrative.
I'm not judging it, okay?
Right.
It works. I'm not against it. That's not the point. It's just to understand, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's an old teaching that Axel shared with me one day. He says, when the samurai went to a fight, right, and they fought somebody else, and when they killed the enemy, it says every time you defeat your enemy, tight your shield harder. What does that mean? That's the teaching. They said every time you defeat your enemy, tight your helmet. Sorry, tight your helmet harder. Like, what does that mean? Tying your helmet harder or tight it. What do you think of that? Why would you do that?
I don't know. Maybe because they're going to come after you harder.
Exactly. Yes, because of revenge. You haven't solved the problem. You solved a problem, but now you have a bigger one. They will come after you.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's why you're tightening up that helmet. Get ready for more. And
not just them, but future generations.
Yes.
Their sons and the sons of their sons. Right.
People can hold a grudge. That's for sure. Right. So
I ask you, we're talking about, there's something I really wanted to ask you about, and it also stemmed from your interview with Master Bry, but you talked about soft skills, and I thought that was great, the soft skills that you learned at a school. And I've had many of these, but I never had the terminology for it. And you talked about, and I'm just reading it from the notes, you talked about awareness, and of course you talked to your students about awareness, and then there's verbal skills, right? And then there's prevention, that's something I talk about. But there's one thing that you did mention, I've got to ask you about this. You talked about prediction. And I must say, I know who I am, and I'm not always good at predicting something. I can rationalize my way out of something that maybe is unfolding right before me. I can, I don't know, Master Bryce said something about a deer in the headlights. You didn't really see what you actually saw. Maybe your brain will tell you that you saw something else just to make it okay. But you talked about prediction, and I've got to know about that, because I'm sure that's something that you also have to talk to law enforcement about. But
Yes.
even in my community, or and I live in a small community, about 10,000 people. But right, I got to know what you have to say about that. The concept of teaching your students about prediction.
Okay. I'm looking for something here. Okay, I got it. There is a book. Okay, I'm going to share this. Yeah, there is a book, and but before we go there, let's say, hold on. The word martial arts are commonly used today. Maybe it does not fit. We use it to protect ourselves or the ones we love. Yes, but I think, Michael, yes, I agree with you, sir. But for me, self-defense, just self-defense alone, doesn't share the philosophy of it. That's why I like to call it the Protector Project or the Way of the Protector, because there's also a philosophy behind it, right? And we say self-defense, people just think of the practical approach to defending yourself, right? Which is a good word, but I like the word arts. So maybe it should be defensive arts or protective arts. I don't know. I haven't found the right marketing name. So going back to your question, Guro, let me share a screen and show you the book. Okay, there's a very good book. You can find it on Amazon. Okay, I got it there. Sheep No More by Jonathan Gillian. He also has a YouTube channel. It's The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. Okay. This is an amazing, amazing book. And he talks about prediction there. Okay. He's a former US Navy SEAL. He worked for, I think he worked an FBI special agent. So he has the combative mindset, but also the law enforcement mindset, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Very good book. Okay. And he talks about not just prevention, he talks about prediction. And that's what intelligence experts will do. For example, and he puts some examples for terrorism and stuff like that. What is it that they do to predict an attack or something like that, right? And we can take that into our own life, self-defense. And he also talks about it, right? So what he does is he teaches you the mindset of the attacker. How does the attacker think, right? So you can predict when the attacker can attack you. When is it that you are in a critical area or critical time or vulnerable area, and the routes of approach? That's part of prediction. So you're predicting, like, for example, every time you go out of your house, right, and you go to work, what are the critical areas that you go through every morning?
That's fair.
That you could be attacked. Because we hear
I guess for somebody, when I look at my own circumstances, my whole life is in a 5-mile radius, right? Home, I go to the school, I go to the store. I don't know. For me, I think that a likely scenario would be a traffic incident and a home invasion. Those are the only two things that I can predict that I would be at risk for.
Okay. So let's talk about a home invasion. Okay, we're not going to give details. I'm going to make an example. What are the routes to approach your house? Do you just have a one street way? Do you have like a back door?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Can they go in through the neighbors, or do you have neighbors on the side or not? Do you have a big fence or small fence? Those are critical areas. So for example, my house, I just added a big wall on one side, but my house goes from one side to the street or to the other side.
Okay.
So I need to check, what are my vulnerable areas? If I'm afraid of somebody invading my home, where can they go through? Do I have a garage? Does it stay open? Do my kids lock the door, or are they careless? Sometimes, right? Because they're kids, right? So that's you think about vulnerable areas. Now, what are the critical times? Early in the morning, or 3 o'clock in the morning, or at night, or maybe you're gone from 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock, nobody's in the house. Those are your critical times for a home invasion, right? Or when everybody's asleep, that makes it even worse. Because if somebody comes in, they're going to catch you in your sleep, and you don't want that. You rather get them at home when nobody's in there, right?
Right.
Okay. So those are the things that you start considering. That's your critical areas, your critical time of the day, right? For example, and how vulnerable you are. Now, if somebody is usually, and he tells you this, usually when somebody is thinking about invading your house, for example, they will do an intel gathering prior.
Are they smart enough? I don't know. I don't give criminals a whole lot of credit for being that smart. Maybe they're good at what they do, but do they really take the time? I mean, so many of these, at least in this area, so many of these home invasions are fueled by drugs. So they're not the brightest lights in the harbor, you know?
How do you know that? How do you know that?
How do I know it? How do I know it?
How can you be sure of that? How can you be sure that they're not intelligent?
I can't be sure. I can't be sure. I guess I'm just going by the statistics that I see on our police blotter.
You're underestimating them.
Fair. That's fair.
And you cannot allow yourself to do that when you know how it works. Now, why is it that the mindset of a law enforcer or a soldier changes? Because they see the other side of the reality that a civilian will not see. And that's why I'm so protective about my home, because I get to hear all the stories from police officers here. And I used to think the way you think. Oh, come on, that doesn't happen. Come on, people going by my house.
No, Master Frank, I would never say it doesn't happen. I just don't want to give the bad guys so much credit to where I'm in fear. I don't want to be in fear.
Okay, it's not about fear. That's the thing. It's about awareness, right? It's not about being paranoid. Okay, mm-hmm. That's why you train for this. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't share this information. You ask, okay? That's why I don't usually share this information with just anybody, because then they start thinking in fear. It's not about fear. Okay, right. When you put an alarm in your car, you're protecting your investment.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not that you're afraid that you're going to park it in the supermarket. No, you're just going to click, click, right? Because you're protecting your investment. You're smart.
Right.
And you understand that the car can be robbed, right? That's why you have an alarm. And you don't want people to take your car, because that costs you a lot, right? It's not just money. It's the work you did for that money. So it's about protecting your stuff, not being afraid. But we need to acknowledge that there are people that like other people's things, right?
Fair. They like other people.
Yeah, denying it doesn't make it go away. Now, being ready for it, and don't be paranoid. That's not the point. That's not the point. Just if you can put a perimeter in your house, a fence, for example, to keep your kids safe, would you do it if you need to, or not? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, are you going to be afraid of your kids all the time? Yeah, sometimes we are as parents, but still we need to let them live, right? you just, God bless you, go just do your thing, right?
Right, of course.
But if we can't put a fence around the house to make sure that our kid is protected, we'll do it, right? And you still will let him
Right.
go out, but now you have some type of protection, okay?
Of course.
And it's the same thing with self-defense. You're not learning self-defense. Maybe you got in there because you were afraid, but then you build your confidence up, okay? And it's the same thing with your house, and it's the same thing with the environment. But yes, this is probably not for everybody. If you're not trained, don't try to do this. You need to train you need to understand and have that mindset. Otherwise, we'll give you fear. I agree with you.
I guess you don't want to, you know, you're right. I mean, you don't want to underestimate the bad guy, but you sure don't want to overestimate them either. You know, I think what they have is that they've been doing it for a long time. Somebody who's a bad guy, they've been bad for a long time. And so they're good at it. And I guess if you don't have a lot of exposure to that evil element, it's going to rock your world when you come face to face with it. And I actually think that you and Master Cooper talked about that quite a bit too. You know, when you're face to face with true violence and true evil, you know, you could be that deer in the headlights. And so, yeah, you're right. Train hard, so maybe you never have to use it.
That's right. Okay, we have a good friend here, Sammy Ibrahim, saying some interesting comments. He's an expert in security, so he says, salute. Predictive analysis is certainly a vital skill to teach students. There you go. Especially because all the physical movements tend to go out the window if you place yourself in a vulnerable, unaware situation. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well said.
Okay. Luis Gonzalez says, saludos. Thank you. Maria Lopez, great show. Saludos. Thank you. Saludos. Bruce Sato says, always have an escape plan and communication cell phone to call for help, police and neighbors. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Abraham has more comments here. People follow the same patterns of life, so it makes it rather easy for someone to observe the target, schedule, and set up the perfect times to seize the initiative. I advise having 3 or more patterns that you alternate randomly, driving different ways home, showing up at different times, changing the location of your weapons. Some are not smart enough, but some are.
Whoa. Okay, we were just fair enough. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Remember, the people on the police radar are the sloppy ones. It is the ones that don't pop up on the stats that have good operating procedures.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Ibrahim has a background in intelligence in the military, right? So, in counterintelligence. So he knows what he's talking about. Thank you, sir.
It sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Bruce says, never underestimate your enemy or opponent.
That's right.
Okay. And I got to add, it's not just about an enemy or an opponent. Okay. It's about a co-civilian who has some criminal attitudes. Okay.
Or the bullies, the bullies that some of our teen students face too. And that came up in your previous interviews. Some of your guests, you're always asking when somebody appears on the show how they got their start. And some of them have replied, I was getting bullied. And so it's useful to have a training method for prediction
I was
for that age group, right? What? I missed what you said. I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah. No. Yes. No, I said I was bullied as well. Yes, I understand. Of course.
Well, oh, right.
Okay. Right. Let's see. Michael Lee Martin said, expect the smartest criminals possible. If they end up being unintelligent, at least you plan for the worst case scenario. And like I said, this is not for everybody. Okay. Not everybody has this mindset. Okay. Because it can drive you nuts. Yes, it can make you paranoid if you're not trained. Okay, it's about being trained, and it's about training and understanding. If you don't have that mindset, then don't go there.
Yeah, don't do it. Right.
But that's why this book that I shared with you says "Sheeps no more." Okay, it's about becoming a shepherd dog. It's about
Yeah,
becoming a
the
protector.
sheepdog. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
yes, the sheepdogs, exactly. That's what it is. The sheepdog
One of the things that
mentality.
you
That
and Master
mentality.
Cooper, right.
Go, please.
Oh no, I was going to ask you because one of the things that you and Master Cooper had talked about was the use of firearms and the different mindset that if you carry a firearm, be prepared to use it. But you had a different approach that firearms are there to save lives. So again, that two sides of that same coin. When you two were discussing firearms, that you shoot to kill, but your approach was, well, firearms are there to save lives.
Right.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
Well, when you ask a person why did they invented firearms, most of the people will say to kill people. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it was that way. We don't know, right? But that's the common answer. People will, especially if you're not familiar with firearms, they would, link firearms with killing, right? And yes, they are destructive. Yes, of course, they're lethal. But if you think of it as a tool to save life, we go back to that Switzerland example, right? In that country, they have, I think the statistic is they have more guns per person than any other country. Right. Even more than the States. Right?
More guns than people.
But they have the least amount of crimes with firearms than any other country. Because they see guns as a way of saving lives.
Yes, it's a tool. Yes.
Okay, so it's about the mindset. How do you perceive your gun? If you come into my house, I'm going to kill you, right? That's why I got this gun, to kill everybody. No, if you try to, I'm going to save my life and save my, and it really changes the way you apply it. It really does. I know it sounds like it's not a big difference. It is. Okay, so let's see. Black Knight here says, can't comment this wonderful comment. Okay. Can T comment? I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Do you understand the comment here?
No.
Sorry, sir. Can you elaborate? Se ha ido Sudamérica. Saludos, saludos, mi estimado. Gracias. So anyway, yes, there's so much stuff. Thank you for making so much notes. And like I said, I really, really enjoy having these conversations with you.
Are you wrapping things up with me? Because I have more questions for you. Oh my goodness, maybe it has to wait.
We passed the hour, so.
Oh, I guess yes. So. Wow, what happened? It goes too quick.
Yeah, we'll do another 5 minutes. Let's see. Let's bring another comment. Bruce Sato says, most Swiss men are required to learn how to use a gun. All men between the ages of 18 and 34 deemed fit for service are given a pistol or a rifle and trained. There you go. After they have finished their service, the men can typically buy and keep their service weapons.
Yeah.
But they have to get a permit for them. Well, thank you, sir.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if the rules have changed, but I think they're required to showcase their skills every couple of years. And they have to go to like a 3-day firearms training seminar. I think that's the way it used to be. I don't know if it's still like that now, but they're required to keep their skills up.
Well, I just find it so interesting when they have this weapons culture, right? In a very responsible way, because
yes,
I would like to say that in America, I know I'm in no place to judge, but a lot of the problems that are happening in America is because people are not responsible for having a weapon. A lot of people are, and the ones that are responsible, like Sammy said, they're not part of the statistics, right? There's a lot of people that are very responsible with the use of the guns, but there are a lot of people that are not. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Not the weapons. The problem is not the
think-
weapons per se.
Yeah, and you can't change your laws based on the lowest common denominator, right? The people that screw up for the rest of us, you just can't. You have to assume. Yeah.
Yes, and I guess the answer is teach people, make them aware, make them responsible, right? Have this program.
Right.
Make, I don't know, community programs, social programs for people to learn how to be responsible with the weapons, because there are a lot of very good instructors and a lot of people that are very responsible there about their use of the firearms. I know, I've been trained there. So
Right.
so there are a lot of people that are responsible about their weapons, and and they use them in the right way, and they can teach people, right? And there are a lot of instructors, very good instructors out there, but people don't go there. So I think that will be, understanding and training. That's, for me, that's the answer, right?
Yes.
You said you have more questions. Let's bring another one before we finish.
Well, I do. I just don't think we're going to be able to knock it out of the park in this short amount of time. But maybe next time we can talk about. You had been talking about also again with Sensei Bry. It was such an interesting conversation. But you had talked about some different components of self-defense, in not just the psychological and the physiological components of self-defense, but also the ethical and the legal and the sociological. I mean, that's a whole conversation, Master Frank. I just want to hear more about that. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, I can say something about it. This comes from the use of force, from the law enforcement use of force. I am a certified use of force instructor by the Red Cross International Committee. Okay, and their whole approach is about human rights and all that side, right? So they have the soft law, not just soft skills, also soft law.
Oh yes,
Okay, so we have hard law will be Constitution and whatever, all the stuff that is written, right? And soft law will be, for example, human rights. Human rights are part of the soft law. So, for example, here in Mexico, if you get a complaint with human rights as a police officer, they will not put you in jail, right? Because they're not punishers, but they will give recommendations, and you might even lose your job, okay, by a recommendation of the human rights personnel, right, or association or committee.
Oh my goodness! Isn't it rather subjective?
What's that?
Well, the human rights, isn't it rather subjective?
That's why I said it's soft law. It's soft law.
Yes, yeah.
So they don't punish, but they do recommend. They make strong recommendations because well, they are like the consciousness of the system. The human rights associations or committees, commission of human rights, they are the now it's run by people, right? So there are also mistakes there. There's always the human factor, but still, I don't know.
May I ask just very quickly, does it go to speech? The human rights codes, do they go to your speech? Does it dictate your speech, compel your speech? It does. Okay.
Of course. Yes, pretty much so. And that approach has changed the way I see the arts. Because for one of the things is you don't see the other person as the enemy. And you even read, somebody said the enemy or the opponent today in the comments.
Right.
And that's what we teach in the martial arts schools. Your opponent. You're fighting your opponent. And you hear this a lot. Now, when you're in a street situation, the other person is not your opponent. It's another civilian who's having an aggression or an aggressive conduct or an aggressive move against you. So you have the right to defend yourself against another civilian. You're not fighting the enemy.
Fair enough.
even though it will feel so, of course, right? But you're not fighting the enemy. And if you don't change that mindset, what do you do to your enemy in war?
You kill them.
Okay? So that's violence against violence. Now, when you're a protector, and this is the way police officers are supposed to behave, but it's not easy. That's why policing is so hard. So my respect to all law enforcement. I am definitely pro law enforcement, right? Of course, I mean I teach the police, and I'm in favor.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm in total favor of them, right? But when they're arresting a civilian, they're not arresting the enemy. They're arresting their clients.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Very interesting.
Okay,
that's a real distinction, isn't it?
Because they are there to serve and protect the civilians, even the ones with criminal attitudes or criminal behaviors or actions, right? Because they're not there to judge you. They're there to arrest you and present you to the authorities. That's the job, part of it, right? So when they're arresting somebody, they're not arresting a criminal. They're arresting a civilian with criminal behaviors, right? They have broken the law at that moment, right? So they arrest you, especially with preventive police, right? They arrest them, and you cannot say, I just arrested a criminal because he hasn't been convicted. That's human rights. That's what changes in the speech, what I'm telling you right now. And it changes your mindset. So when you're getting attacked by another person, the other person is also a civilian, and you need to protect them because that's what the law demands of you. That's why you have the sociological approach, the ethical approach, and the law.
Yes.
Right? The legal approach to consider, not just the physical, the psychophysiological approach of martial art. You have to include the other three. And that's something I learned when I got certified as a use of force instructor.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So for example, if you are attacking me, you're an expert with a knife, and you're attacking me with a knife on the street, right? I'm a big guy. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and I'm 200 or so pounds, right? So I'm a big guy, right? And and I have this mean look on my face. And let's say you have a big knife and you are attacking me, and I'm able to take the knife away, and then I hit you hard, right? And since I'm a Kempo guy, I'm going to hit you 5 times, right? And take you to the ground. What is a witness going to say if they see me hitting you like that? Are they going to agree with me?
Did they see the big knife? I don't know.
Maybe not. Let's say they didn't see the knife. The knife.
Well, if they didn't see the knife, then
I'm an abuser, right? A violent man who's attacking this fragile woman. That's the sociological approach. They don't know you're trained. They don't know you have a knife. They don't know you wanted to kill me, probably, right? Let's put that scenario. You're highly trained, you're skilled with a knife, and you wanted to kill me. So I knew how to defend myself, but I saw you as the enemy, so I did, and then when you landed on the floor, I step on you, right? Because I don't want you to get up, right? Because I need to generate that most amount of damage in the least amount of time. Otherwise, you're going to get up and get that knife. That's the combative mindset, right? I'm not judging it. I'm just putting it from a sociological perspective. But let's say there are 2 women walking by that are not familiar with violence, and even if they see the big knife, they're going to see a smaller woman against a bigger man. That's what they're going to see, right? And they're going to see this bigger guy beating you up, right, and taking you to the ground and stomping on you because you have a big knife. And maybe I see that you have a concealed firearm on the side. I see that because I'm trained, right? But the other person doesn't see it because they're not trained. And they're just watching. Right. They're watching violence. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen with me?
Yeah. Well, if you're going down,
I'm definitely going to jail. I will end up in front of a judge and a jury, and those 2 witnesses are not going to say nice things about me. I'm in trouble now. And I was the one who was going to get killed.
It's the optics. It's the perception. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Wow. Thank you. Gee.
Electric Rodeo, my respect, salute, great show. Thank you. Bruce, excellent show. I can tell that this show will become more popular if more people hear about it. Thank you.
Yeah, it has,
share it.
hasn't it? Wow.
Please like and share the video. Okay, that really helps. Like
And
and
if
share
you
the
don't like
video.
it, share it with your enemies. That cracks me whenever you say that. If you don't like me, if you don't like the show, share it with your enemy.
Yes, if you think I'm annoying, share it with your enemy and I will annoy them. Yes, but share
With
it,
your
please.
opponent.
Bruce says, very good point. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, so we're past 15 minutes of the hour, so I guess we better go. Thank you. Is there anything you want to add before we leave?
Oh, sir, no. There's more. We'll have to cover it next time. There's
Okay.
so much. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. It goes so quickly.
Thank you very much. This is amazing. Thank you for letting me talk. I appreciate that and letting me share as well. Thank you. And thank you for being on the show. Like I said, you do pay attention, and that's very nice. That it means that what we're doing here, it
matters. Yeah,
yes. So thank you, and see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks everybody that watched this. Salud. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.